Hello, Norman.
I'm in good.
How are you?
Good.
Glad to hear it. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm really excited.
My great pleasure. You hear me well?
Yep.
Good.
Hey, Maggie.
We finally made this happen. This is awesome.
Thank you so much for being here and for speaking to me today. You know, my whole life, at least my adult life, has been an attempt to bring together these three strands: my faith world, my striving for justice and the political world, and my artistic creative work. And the Kumah festival. Kumah means rise up in Hebrew. It's an attempt to bring together these three strands. And we've always wanted to present an award to someone who embodies this, this triangle. And I can't think of anybody in the entire world who, to me, represents that coming together better than you, Norman, and your work. And it's really a tremendous honor for me to be able to present you with this award. So I'm just super happy to be here, the three of us, for this conversation to honor you, Norman.
You're more happy than I am, or pleased, or proud, or excited to receive this award and to be doing that with this glorious woman known to me as my daughter.
So, Norman, this whole thing of mine of faith, art, and politics, I see it all over your work, but I wonder if you do.
I see it coming together more in heart and mind than I do in the culture. Right now, I could not be more concerned about whither goes our America as I see what's happening on the crazy right, which is also anti-Semitic, basically anti the individual.
You're reminding me of our last conversation. You were telling me about World War II, about how your experience during the war, you saw there the beginning of the problems in America that you're experiencing so strongly now. Can you speak to that a little bit?
My first recollection of what I'm thinking about and concerned about now, I was 9 years old. My father had just gotten into some trouble and was being sent away, serving 3 years. And we had been working on a little crystal radio set, the earliest days of radio. I'm sitting with our little crystal radio set one night in bed, and I come across a voice on the crystal. And it's a guy called Father Coughlin, who had, at that time, an amazing 30-minute person's radio audience. And I heard this anti-Semitic, fascist Father Coughlin, and it scared the hell out of me.
We are Christian insofar as we believe in Christ's principle of love your neighbor as yourself, and with that principle, I challenge every Jew in this nation to tell me that he does not believe in it.
Years later, the American Legion had a start of their life school contest to write an essay about the Constitution and make a short speech. I wrote about the Constitution and me, in which I wondered if the Constitution meant a little more to me as a member of a minority, a Jew, than the average person who was not a member of a minority. Was I thinking about more of its protections for me than somebody who didn't need that much protection might be thinking of it? And I won a scholarship to Emerson College. And it was there on a Sunday morning rehearsing a play behind the school on the Esplanade when somebody came running down a fire escape to say the Japanese had just bombed Pearl Harbor and we were at war.
It sounds to me like your consciousness of your being Jewish played an enormous part in your entire political consciousness.
Always. I remember standing on a chow line before we went overseas, 5:30 in the morning or something. The guy, a couple of persons ahead of me, some remark about, basically anti-Semitic remark. And over the years, I've told the stories two ways. I no longer remember exactly what's true. Sometimes I've told the story that I punched him, and sometimes I said I wanted to punch him and ached afterwards that I didn't. But I remember the incident. No, I like to remember that I punched him. I think I did, but I'm not any longer certain.
Maggie, from your memories, what were the things that really got your dad passionate? I mean, he described this moment with the anti-Semitic remark that got him very angry, but I would imagine it was a house in which there were strong feelings.
I think politics is something that always Dad has been passionate about. And I think that taking different sides of an idea or a topic, just being in civic conversation about all kinds of things is something that Dad has always been interested in doing.
Oh, they're putting me on regular next week, but they're paying me less than they paid the man who used to run the forklift.
Oh, well, come on, Irene. After all, it's a well-known fact. Men are worth more than women.
He loves hearing different perspectives.
Do both y'all live here?
Uh-huh, someplace, ain't it?
Yeah. I didn't know the Jeffersons had a couple.
A couple of what?
A maid and a butler, you two.
Butler, what?
Yeah, they must be real rich.
Hold it, Diane. We are the Jeffersons.
And engaging in conversation with all different kinds of people, even if he's totally in disagreement.
Our phone lines are open now in case any of you have never had the pleasure and would like to talk to a Jewish person. Hello, talk to a Jew. You're on the air.
I think that's one of the things that he values the most is the fact that we can have opinions, different kinds of opinions, and hopefully we're listening to each other. And I think he fears that that's not happening so much these days.
That's a very Talmudic attitude. In the Talmud, all they want to do is argue.
Whatever our beliefs, we are one as humans, and brothers and sisters and family.
There's something I wanted to ask you about as a writer, which has to do with the opening of All in the Family, where they're singing.
Oi, the way Glenn Miller played.
Songs that made the hit parade.
Guys like
Whenever I watch that, I am filled with sympathy and even love towards Archie. I guess nowadays, when there's somebody on the other side of the aisle, on the thinking very differently from us, our tendency is not to humanize them. Our tendency is to make them some kind of villain so that we can easily put them in that box and disagree and hate on them. And when I watch that opening of Archie Bunker singing, I feel exactly the opposite. So I'm asking, was that a purposeful move or was that something else?
I'm reflexively reminded of, I served in World War II, flew 50 missions, bombing Germany, and volunteered when the war ended to stay over a bit and fly men and supplies around so that I could see a little more of the Western Front, as we called it then. So I stayed for several months, and one trip got me to Egypt. And we were at the pyramids, and there was a fellow in a camel where you could sit on and have a photograph taken from buck or whatever. And the fellow with the camel spoke a little bit of English and a little bit of Yiddish, to my surprise. And so I didn't go into with the others to the pyramid because I was more interested in the guy with the camels. And so we had about 15 minutes talking. I knew a little English as a result of the years with my grandparents. And there was something to learn from everybody. I think that was the beginning of my understanding that we were individuals, and I would never meet anybody I couldn't learn something from or about. And I could never forget that. It was in the list of lessons of my life. And I never regretted that I didn't learn how many years it took to make a pyramid or how many bricks were in it or whatever. I had this experience with this individual. And it was a brick in the part of me that is a Jew.
I don't know if you know it, but you keep echoing old rabbinic sayings. There's a Talmudic maxim that asks, who is a wise person? He that learns from any person.
Although I think often of, I wish I could remember who said it, a man should have a garment with two pockets. And the first pocket should be a piece of paper on which is written, I am but dust and ashes. In the second pocket, a piece of paper on which is written, for me, the world was created. From the first time I saw that, I thought probably every night as I went to sleep looking at a ceiling and waking up in the morning looking at a ceiling and thinking, for me, the world was created. I think as I say that the three of us sitting here right now and everybody who may hear my voice or see us, it's thinking every split second of their lives and our lives, wherever they are, whenever they see this, every split second of their lives to hear me finish the sentence. Isn't that remarkable that every split second of our lives, we share that truth? That it has taken all of us, every moment, every breath, to get to the point where we hear one another finish a sentence.
Maggie, I was wondering if there's one memory that really expresses something about, your relationship with your dad that you can share with us.
Many come to mind, but the first one that came to mind is I was about 8 years old, and it was winter in New York, and we were having dinner at an Italian restaurant. And we came out, and it was snowing. And there was a guy with a shopping cart, and he was selling flowers. And Dad saw him and went over. And I remember I had never seen a $100 bill before. And he pulled out a $100 bill and he handed the guy a $100 bill. And the guy said, "Let me give you all my flowers." And Dad said, no, just give me one. And that was just the most moving. I mean, his generosity, his awareness of that moment in time, that was a real eye-opener for me.
Thank you. Norman, I wonder if you could share with us a prayer for what do you pray for? What do you for this country, for Griffin and Zoe, for your grandchildren? What is your prayer?
I guess it would be a version of what I said earlier, that deep in their heart and soul, they understand how little they matter and how very much they matter. That they are but dust and ashes, and that for them, the world was created.
Beautiful. So, my deep, deep gratitude and
Our deep gratitude be sent.
Yes, and this could not have been a more enjoyable, uplifting. I treasure that this is how you spend your time, gifting your congregation, anybody within the sound and sight of you with the Spirit.
Thank you. Thank you, Toda.